What's up, everybody? It's December 16th, 2021. This is Front Yard Frontline, and I'm coming at you with something that I came to our attention last year. I posted about it, I think, in December of last year. I'm going to look that up and I'll share it on the Instagram page later. But I'm talking about the LAPD execution of Daniel Hernandez, which happened in April of 2020. Um, At the time that he was shot, there was a video released, and you can tell right off when you watch the video, there's a couple things that just kind of come at you right away. First of all, the mercilessness with which they executed Daniel, Officer Tony McBride. She didn't even give him a chance. She didn't even stop to really assess the situation. I think she saw Daniel. She pretty much had him profiled from the get-go and knew what she was going to do before she probably even drew her weapon. And the way that she shot him, that's pretty much how it looks. And then when you get a little background on Tony, on Officer McBride, it really starts to make a lot of sense. The second thing, and something that I kind of do want to touch upon, is the people who shot the video were pretty much in the line of fire. And LAPD just went ahead and opened fire on Daniel, obviously gunning him down in the street, but with no real regard to any of the innocent bystanders who were happening to, like the two guys that were videotaping it and the people that were standing around in the aftermath of the auto accident. Um, but yeah, it was really, you know, for us who, it's part of our duty or our obligation to kind of bear witness to these executions. It's really difficult. These things add up, but it's important to watch them, to bear witness, because again, as you start to realize, the more that you watch and the more that you see that there's a common problem here, and it's a pretty solvable problem. But it's one that it's coast to coast, and some of the stories that I'm going to talk about today, there a lot of them are hometown, but there's one of them that's happened out in Florida, and so this is a national problem. And there's police departments all over the country, and every single police department has a murderous, rogue, out of control police officer, at least one. So this is a systemic problem. But yeah, the shooting of Daniel Hernandez. I'm gonna just kind of start with that, I guess. Um, the LAPD Police Commission did find that Officer McBride was partially out of policy when they shot Daniel, because her last two shots, she shot him while he was on the ground. But that was, I'm sure that they hesitated to even make that judgment, because they do like to sign off on all these shootings. And anyone that's ever tried to go to the police commission or go to a city council or try to petition any city government or government entity to actually take the side of the people knows it's not an easy thing to do. But the thing about Officer McBride is that she's like an Instagram celebrity, or a pseudo celebrity. She does shooting videos, and she models clothes and guns on her page. She does a lot of shooting competitions and stuff like that. And so when I found that out a year ago, that enough right there was just enough to floor me. The fact that she could even have a job, but that the LAPD would kind of promote her as like a poster girl for what they're trying to do out there. It lines up with everything that we're talking about. And then I saw it through Mr. Checkpoint, but I think it was the Los Angeles People's Council or something like that posted the fact that her father, Jamie McBride, is an LAPD police officer who's also got multiple shootings on his record. In fact, he shot 6 people. He shot 4 people in the span of 5 months. And he is the representative for the LAPD Police Protective League, which is a police union. And again, I'm a union man, and we're going to talk about unions in a minute. But, as somebody who actually works for a living, building things and making things stronger, it's really hard, that these predators and antagonists in our community actually get to call themselves union people. It's really frustrating to me. And anytime that you really look at, anytime that any police union responds to a shooting, no matter who it is, they're always just cold and judgmental, and automatically side with the cop no matter what happened. No matter what happened. I'm talking about Oscar Grant. I'm talking about Michael Nida, right? I'm talking about some of the, Alfonso Limon, and I'll talk about him in a second. they always side with the cops, and this dude's, you know, him and his daughter, are a perfect example of the culture of lawlessness and out of control violence that exists not only in the LAPD and the sheriff's department, but in, like I said, police departments all across the country. But like I said, you know, the video, the first thing that I saw in the video, you know, was obviously this guy was executed without, you know, any probable cause and without any chance, you know, to surrender or explain himself. And also, like I said, the blatant disregard for the innocent bystanders in the area, for an organization that has protect and serve, in quotes, on the side of their cars. I just don't see any concern for the general public. But when I did see the shooting, you know, like I said, it reminded me of several other circumstances that I want to share with you, and they're kind of out of order. But the first one that I want to talk about is one that we might all be familiar with. It happened in the state of Florida. It was the shooting of the UPS driver, Frank Ordonez. This happened on December 5th, 2019. Frank was a delivery driver for UPS in December, which is, you know, the heaviest month for UPS drivers. So this guy, you know, for a fact, was just working his ass off. I'm probably from the sun, before the sun went up to after the sun went down. I worked for UPS. My first union job was at the UPS Cerritos Hub. I was a proud member of Teamsters Local 396. The Teamsters gave me that union spirit, let me understand, you know what I mean, that there's an alternative for the working man. And I was so proud of being a Teamster, and it's a great union. The exact opposite of what I would consider to be a police union. But at the same time, you know, when they killed Frank, I was kind of hoping that we were going to see something from the Teamsters. We were going to see, you know, I thought, okay, well, fuck, they're shaking the Teamsters tree. We're going to see what happens now. But I understand, you know, politics is a sad game, and a lot of union reps and a lot of union higher ups, they play that politics game, and that's why we can't really count on them to show up for us too much. The only person that I can think of who is a union person who shows up every time he can is Cliff Smith with the Roofers and Waterproofers Local 36. That dude's a real one, and he shows up, you know, and he makes sure that his union is represented. In fact, when Mikey got killed as a Local 78 UA plumber, Cliff was one of the first people to talk to me and kind of explain to me how to do things. And you know, for us, a lot of the organizing and a lot of the actions that we took, you know, were inspired by the old school union days in the turn of the last century. And, you know, sometimes you got to take power for yourself when they're not going to let you have it, you know. So the thing about Frank Ordonez, like I said, you know, he got shot right before Christmas. There was a hostage situation. Dude ran into, you know, his truck, and the officers at the time, they just, I mean, a barrage of bullets. 20 cops opened fires. They said over 36 rounds. There was another man that was hit, another innocent bystander who probably doesn't get the same recognition as Frank, his name was Richard Cutshaw. Richard Cutshaw was also killed that day. So 2 innocent bystanders were executed in Florida in a hail of bullets, with no regard for their safety, you know, and no patience to solve the situation in an alternative manner. And that's something else that you see, is that, you know, when these guys get blood in their nostrils, or when they feel like, you know, this is their chance to kind of get one, there's really no voice of reason. Tony McBride, no chance for Daniel Hernandez. She just opens fire, and then she domes him, and then she finishes him off with 2 shots on the ground, right? Alfonso Limon, city of Oxnard, October 13th, 2012. Alfonso Limon was out exercising with his brother. They were jogging. They were wearing sweatsuits. They were wearing exercise clothes. There was a shootout. There was a situation in the neighborhood where the Oxnard Police Department were looking for suspects. They accosted Alfonso and his brother, who I said were innocent, were completely unrelated to any crime in the area, were just exercising that night. And before they even had a chance to explain what they were doing or why they were out, they just opened fire and executed Alfonso Limon in the street. He was just a kid, and at the time they killed him, the Oxnard police chief, her name was Jerry Williams, completely supported the Oxnard Police Department was certain that they were going to find a justification for executing Alfonso. And at the end of the day, they wound up, I think, having to pay over $6 million in settlement money and make some serious adjustments to their department because Alfonso was innocent. Alfonso was beloved by his family and his community. And he was taken out early and by some Oxnard Police Department officers who were just too eager to get a kill that night. You know, Alfonso Limon, rest in peace. You were an innocent bystander, and you should be with your family now. But cops love blood. I'm sorry, brother. I got a couple more I want to talk about that aren't maybe as personal to me or as don't have, but I still think they're important. In July 21st, 2018, at a Trader Joe's in Los Angeles, let me see if I can say her name right. Melita Corrado was shot and killed. She was an assistant manager at Trader Joe's in the middle of a hostage situation. When the LAPD showed up, there was somebody who had taken over the market and was a threat. But at the time that Melita was shot, there was no threat to her life. There was no threat to the officers' lives. In fact, one of the officers who was involved in the shooting told his partner, do not shoot, do not shoot. We are going to keep our distance. And that happens a lot too. That happens a lot too. You know, it makes me think of Pedro Montanez up in Indio, who was killed like this, where one partner is trying to alleviate the situation, and then you've got this other asshole who just wants to fucking shoot somebody, you know? And that seems like that's what happened here at this Trader Joe's. There maybe was a voice of reason who was ignored, who usually is ignored. And they went ahead and opted for the old blood and guts solution, and they killed an innocent bystander in the process. They did not kill the person they were shooting at, though, but they did charge him with the murder. So at least they admit it's murder, right? Another one that's kind of fucking tragic. We showed up and tried to maybe get something going, but the family was just really intimidated, and so was the community. This was in August of 2014. Frank Mendoza Sr. in the city of Rosemead was executed by the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. Also a hostage situation. Somebody ran into his home and was firing shots and was basically being chased by the cops in the neighborhood. Got chased to this house, ran into the house, and so now you've got all the sheriffs in your yard. And they were negotiating with the gentleman that they shot and with the suspect, and were in the process of removing Frank's family from his house. So they were bringing innocent people out of the house. When they say that somebody opened fire, which, whether or not that's true, we'll never know. In the confusion, as they're bringing out the family, I guess probably Frank was the last person to leave. Make sure all his family's out of the house before he goes. Frank's the last man out, but the LASD has already decided it's time. And so they open fire and they kill Frank Mendoza on his own porch. Yep. And apparently Frank knew the guy that they shot, and this guy was running to his house to get someone to speak for him or to get someone to kind of, who knew him, which reminds me of Mikey run into his wife because she was the only one in that situation who believed in him before they executed him, But yeah, so this guy got killed on his own porch by a bunch of cops who showed up in his front yard and just, did the Keystone fucking situation. And this gentleman lost his life. And the last one I want to talk about was kind of famous, kind of well known at the time. This was in April, also 2014. John Winkler was a production assistant on Tosh.0, and he was executed or shot while escaping a hostage situation by the LA Sheriff's Department in West Hollywood. Somebody had broken into his friend's house and started cutting everybody up with a knife. John himself was wounded, was cut. Like I said, was able to escape his attacker, made it downstairs, and as soon as he walked out the front door, LASD just opened fire and shot him dead in the street. And so here's someone who, the cops always say that, what are you going to do, when crime comes to you, or what are you going to do, who are you going to call when, someone breaks into your house? Well, this guy was able to evade his own attacker and save his own life, and then have it ended by the guys who were supposed to be there to make things easier or make things better. And that's kind of what I really want to touch on is that, at this, our public safety has very little importance or significance when it comes to the games that they play in the street. You know, and that's kind of what I want to get at today. I know it's kind of been a long video. I've kind of run on a little bit long, so I'm going to cut it short now. But, you know, I kind of want to get these stories out there, like I said, you know, and if you can, you know, look into them. I'm going to try to post some stories, some links to some of these stories on my Instagram and Facebook page. So if you get a chance to check that out, that would be cool. Just so you can see, you know, the written facts behind what I'm trying to tell you here today. Well, I think that's pretty much it for this particular section. I got a couple other things I'm going to try to talk about later, but you know, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time and opening your heart. I'm going to continue to try to share these stories as I read them and as they kind of, you know, become significant to me. And I also want you to stay tuned. We're working on our we're going to start to get out there and show you some memorials. First one we're hoping to do, first city we're hoping to do is Paramount. We've got a couple memorials that we'd like to show you, or at least some scenes. Unfortunately, memorials get taken down, but those of us that remember keep the memorials alive in our hearts. So it's kind of what I'm trying to do here, trying to create a record, so none of this stuff gets forgotten. All right? Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. If you're out there struggling, hang in there, because you're not alone. All right? Thank you.